महाभारतम् धर्म अधर्म संघर्षणम् पक्षि प्राणि मानव च देव धर्म अधर्म पाञ्चालिका ज्ञान प्रभासित दिव्य जीवम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् भारतम्
महाभारतम् धर्म अधर्म संघर्षणम् पक्षि प्राणि मानव च देव धर्म अधर्म पाञ्चालिका ज्ञान प्रभासित दिव्य जीवम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् भारतम् भारतम् महाभारतम् धर्म अधर्म संघर्षणम् पक्षि प्राणि मानव च देव धर्म अधर्म पाञ्चालिका ज्ञान प्रभासित दिव्य जीवम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् भारतम्
So life goes on in the forest and Duryodhana and Karna are very disappointed, their hunt is called off. So they come up with another plan. Duryodhana goes to his father and says, "Father, I think it's time we count our cows." It's part of the pastoral societies because one of the greatest wealth that they have is their cattle. Millions of heads of cattle the Kauravas have, so it can't be obviously kept in one place, it's all over. So once in a way, you have to go and count your cattle. How much wealth do you have? So, you know how the bull got into the stock market. So cows and bulls, they have to go about counting because that's the stock. So nobody had any objection for cow counting. So Duryodhana, Karna, Shakuni, Dushasana, along with their wives and a whole retinue, they prepared cow counting picnic. They all go camp somewhere, cow counting happens, but the whole family is there, an outing, everything. Work and pleasure. But of course they want to count cows closer to the forest. Because when Duryodhana was very frustrated that his father cancelled the hunt, Karna told him, "See, they're already vanquished. We don't have to go and kill them. If you kill them, you will spare them the suffering. The best thing we can do is, when a man is defeated, the worst thing that can happen to him is the victor If he can get to strut around him, that is the worst thing. So let's go and strut around. Let's enjoy our victory. Let them suffer their defeat. Let's just go visit them, express our sympathies for them and let's enjoy it. Why go kill them? It looked like a good idea. So that is why this cow counting was thought up. And they went. So they camped in the forest, full retinue, they have everything. Cooks cooking and women are there, children are there, everything happening, music, things going on. It's a picnic come work. So they went and camped not very far from where the Pandavas were. Nakula, who was out in the forest, heard noises, came to the edge of the forest and looked at the Kaurava camp. And he went back and reported. Immediately, Bhima and Arjuna picked up their arms and they said, they have come to harm us, they have not just come for fun. We have to be alert, or the best thing is we take the offensive, that we go finish them first. Yudhishthira said, that is not our dharma. We have accepted that we will stay in the forest for 12 years, we will just do that. Our brothers might not have come to attack us, they have not done anything. Why should we assume that they will do this? So, this camp was going on. In the evening, a Gandharva, whose name was Chitrasena, came there with his retinue of people and a kind of altercation happened between the Kauravas and the Gandharvas. The Gandharvas disarmed the Kauravas in no time, bundled up Duryodhana, Karna, Dushasana, Shakuni, except the women. All the soldiers, they killed a few soldiers, rest of them they all roped them up and put them down there like logs and kicking them around and making fun and eating their food. The news went to the Pandavas that this happened. And immediately the four brothers burst out in celebration. This is it. I'm sure they came with an evil intent, they had something on their minds, they got it, it's good. But Yudhishthira said, this cannot be allowed, they are our brothers. Whoever the Gandharva, we must go and fight him because they have shamed our brothers. Bhima was furious. You talking about shame, do you know what is shame in your life? Do you know what is shame? Do you have anything like that in you? You're talking about shame, big arguments, but as an elder brother, he said no. He said, go and release the Kauravas, whoever the Gandharva, fight him. So they went and a fight ensued. Arjuna was like this. This is what Krishna is trying to say later on when he speaks Gita. Arjuna is pure action. Like the way Mahabharata describes his action is, when he went into his action, when the bow and arrow came into his hand, he's like a blur. They say he was like a blur, you couldn't see what his hands were doing. It was so fast and he was so perfect in that action. That is the only fulfillment he knew in his life, that when he starts using the arms, he is there. Otherwise, he is a quiet man. When Duryodhana, Dushasana, Karna, Shakuni and many others, a few of the other brothers, everybody hands and legs bound, lying there, Gandharvas having fun, eating their food, kicking them around. They have no respect for the Kshatriyas because they don't belong to this land. Then Yudhishthira insisted that the brothers should go and save the Kauravas. So Arjuna set for battle with Gandharvas and got into action in such a way that Chitrasena was defeated, and later on Chitrasena became Arjuna's music and dance teacher when he went to Indra's place. And he gave him gifts and went away here because he lost the battle. And just before they went, this is one streak of something else in Yudhishthira. When he insisted they must go and fight, and Bhima was resisting very vehemently, Arjuna also not willing to go, then Yudhishthira said, "What great pleasure is there for a man than being magnanimous to his enemy? Go enjoy yourself, why are you guys resisting what I tell you?" Then they suddenly realized, yes, this is a great chance, we going and liberating them is going to be good. And they went, and then they cut their bonds loose and they looked at them and very magnanimous and nice to them. This was the most horrible moment for Duryodhana. After the Pandavas left, he cried bitterly and he said, "I don't want to live anymore. I want to die." And he told Karna, and then he called Dushasana and he said, Duryodhana turned emotionally to Dushasana, "My brother, go back to Hastinapura, become king in my place, rule wisely with Karna and Shakuni beside you. Always be a sanctuary to your friends and generous to your Brahmins. Mix justice with mercy when you judge a crime. There is no one better to teach you discernment than our uncle Vidura. You go. I am not coming, I am done with this. With this shame that Pandavas had to come and release my hands bound and legs, they had to come and release me, I cannot live with this shame." Whatever they said, he refused to go back to Hastinapur. He asked all of them to leave and he stayed back alone on the bank of a lake, just sat there like a madman. Then he decided he wants to leave his body, and whatever little sadhana he had learned, he crossed his legs and sat down, praying. After a few days, and he lost, his body started decimating, then a demon appeared. She was taller than the palm trees. She came and said in a booming voice, Narakasura's spirit has entered Karna, so you don't bother. Whichever way, one day Karna will kill Arjuna. Once he heard this, suddenly enthusiasm to live came back in him. He sent word for people and then he went back to Hastinapur. It was more than a month that he remained there like a wild animal, not knowing what to do, raging around in the forest, screaming, yelling, wanting to die, not knowing how. When they were in Indraprastha, a situation happened. Yudhishthira was the king and there were four brothers assisting him and creating a very able and even rule. One day when Arjuna was outside, unarmed, a Brahmana came screaming and said, "Thieves came and stole my cows. Please do something. It is the duty of a Kshatriya to protect a helpless citizen like me." Immediately, Arjuna ran into the palace to pick up his bow and arrow. His bow and the sheath of arrows that he had kept. He could not find it in its usual place, so he ran all over, looking for it. And outside the Brahmana was wailing, "Before you come, the time that you're taking, before you come, the thieves will be gone and I'll lose my cows. What kind of kings are you? You can't protect ordinary citizens," and all this stuff. So in that rush, he rushed into Draupadi's chambers and he found Yudhishthira and Draupadi together. And he looked away, picked up his bow and arrow and ran out and got the cows for the Brahmana, came back and he said, as the arrangement was. I have broken it, I'm going away. So he went away for a year in exile. In his exile, it's self-imposed. Yudhishthira said, it's not necessary, you did not do it intentionally, it doesn't matter, I will pardon that, it's not needed. But Arjuna said, no, all of us have taken this, I will go. And 1 year he went away from the kingdom, and like a wandering mendicant, he just wandered alone across the country. He traveled across, he came to South India, went back up Gujarat and back. So along the way, many things happened. One thing is, wherever he went, as a man, he was like a perfect man, a fine figure of a man. And his reputation as an archer and a warrior is just across the lands. If you say Arjuna, it fires that this is the man, that kind of image is there. When first he went north into the Himalayan region and he met a Naga princess called Ulupi, and she bore a child for him whose name was Iravan. Then he went towards the east, what is today Manipur, Nagaland, that region. There he had heard of a princess, a warrior princess, who had taken to martial ways. He had heard about her, whose name was Chitrangada, and he wanted to see her. And even before he saw her, he was kind of in love with her, because he had heard so much about her skills in the battlefield. But when Chitrangada heard that Arjuna is coming that way, she felt the way she is, that she is muscular and she's a warrior. She's not like how a woman should be. She has never seen Arjuna, and she thought Arjuna must be used to seeing the most beautiful woman, but I am like this. And she prayed to Shiva and asked, make me beautiful, I don't want to look like this when he comes. So she was transformed into a beautiful person. Arjuna came, looked at her. When they said, this is Chitrangada, he was not interested in one more beautiful woman, and he left. Because he came looking for a warrior. And then she realized the mistake that she has done and asked Shiva, give me back my original form. And then she went to him. And then she said, I am not beautifully perfect as the flowers with which I worship. I have many flaws and blemishes. I am a traveler in the great world path. My garment is dirty, my feet bleed of thorn. Where should I achieve flower-like beauty, unsullied loveliness of moment's life? The gift that I proudly bring is the heart of a woman. Here have all the pains and joys gathered, the hopes and fears, the shames of a daughter of the dust. Here love springs up, struggling towards immortal life. Here lies an imperfection that is yet noble and grand. So he fell in love with her, and he had a son with her whose name was Babruwahana. This is important because all the sons come back later when he has to fight a battle. And then he came south, went up. By now he had long dreadlocks and he looked like a mendicant. He went towards Dwaraka and stayed in Prabhasa. He sent word to Krishna, and Krishna came to see him. And Arjuna was staying in a cave in Prabhasa. And they kind of bonded and they spent some time together, and his 1 year was coming to an end. In a month and a half, he has to go back to Indraprastha. Krishna's sister, Subhadra, was in love with Arjuna without having ever seen him. But Balarama, Krishna's brother, had promised Duryodhana, who was his disciple in mace fighting. Balarama was the teacher of mace fighting for Bhima and Duryodhana, and Duryodhana was his favorite disciple, not Bhima. So he promised Subhadra in marriage to Duryodhana. But Krishna did not want Subhadra to be married to Duryodhana then because it'll become difficult tomorrow when the battle comes. That your sister is married, that obligation will stop you from doing many things that you need to do. So he kind of kindled this further and he told Subhadra to fall sick, and she promptly fell sick. Young women are able to do that. On his request, she fell sick. Devaki got very worried that the girl is sick and seems to be struggling. Then Krishna suggested, let us go and worship at this particular temple in Prabhasa so that she will be relieved. If you worship Shiva in this temple, any ailment that a young girl gets can be relieved. So the whole family traveled to Prabhasa, made sure the route is where Arjuna was in the cave. And Arjuna saw Subhadra and he was quick on this and instantly fell in love. This happened and Balarama noticed a mendicant in the cave. Balarama is a huge man, muscular, a great fighter, a just man. But the brawn that he built in his body kind of little bit grew into his skull also. So he's not the sharpest one, so he always depends on Krishna for any intelligence decisions to happen. And above all, he bows down to Krishna as an avatar, he doesn't see him just as a brother. But still, here and there, he has the authority of being an elder brother. So, he saw this mendicant and he did not recognize Arjuna because he had grown dreadlocks and bearded and sitting there in meditation. So Balaram bowed down to Arjuna and wanted to know where he's from and make some arrangements for his well-being. And then he said, instead of being here, which is a wild place and difficult to get food and stuff, come and stay in my palace, I'll make an arrangement for you where you can continue your meditation, whatever. Krishna was standing there and he indicated to Arjuna, yes, you better do it. So Arjuna moved into Balaram's palace and in the proximity of Subhadra, and things happened. And one day, Krishna said, you know, the time is coming, some date is fixed for Duryodhana's wedding to happen with Subhadra. He said, before that you better elope, otherwise there'll be disaster for you. So Arjuna and Subhadra eloped, and at that time, Subhadra took the reins of the chariot and Balarama gave a fight. When he came to know this mendicant is a false mendicant and is taking away the girl, they chased him. But Subhadra was charioting. Then Krishna said, why are you fighting? The girl is going of her own will. She's not being abducted for you to fight. She's going of her own will, you have no business, it's not in the dharma to attack them because she's not being forcefully taken, she's going by herself. So Balarama got furious, he knew this whole thing is Krishna's design. His favorite disciple, Duryodhana, he loved Duryodhana very much right through, right till the very end. He always sided with Duryodhana, but because Krishna was on this side, he couldn't do anything and he just went away from situations rather than participating in situations. So, he gathered 3 wives and with Subhadra, he took her back to Indraprastha. But Draupadi had put a rule that you can marry as many as you want outside, but nobody comes into this palace. But this is a different case. This is Krishna's sister. So, Arjuna did not know how to face Draupadi after 1 year to come back home with a new wife. So he sent her by herself. She went like a milkmaid and pleased Draupadi in many ways. And Draupadi said, and she expressed that she is in danger, that there are people wanting to hurt her. She said, don't you worry, you will always be under my care. You stay here in the palace. After that, it was revealed to her that she is married to Arjuna. And when she came to know it is Krishna's sister, she kind of quelled her stuff. So why I'm saying this is, Arjuna was considered as, in terms of masculinity, in terms of being macho, Bhima is a different kind. Bhima is a huge man, you know. He's also very, very masculine and big and everything, but too big. He's not the hero kind, he's the hero's assistant kind, you know. So, Arjuna was that kind of personality. Here, there's a little poem on Arjuna. Arjuna, unwavering aim turns into a mean game. The quiet warrior, a deadly force, strong of body and mind, weak of vanity and whim. Enjoined with a god becomes destiny's tool, but nobody's fool. A man, all man. They see that they begin to have too many guests in the forest dwelling. Everybody came to know there is food and there are Pandavas, so people started visiting in big numbers. So they felt this is not even feeling like a jungle, this is looking like an ill-equipped palace. So they decided to move further into the jungle. They moved to another forest called Dvaitavana, which was on the bank… between the rivers of Yamuna and Saraswati, an extraordinarily beautiful place, totally free from civilization, a real forest. Living in a forest close to the Isha Yoga Center is nice, because suppose you want a certain kind of arrangement, you can come and go back. Suppose one day you want to sleep on a bed, you can do that. Suppose one day you don't want to do a very scenic toilet and you want to use a brick and mortar toilet, you can come. Once you have that little option, it's nice. But when you go really deep into the jungle, it's a different experience. I don't know how many of you have been in situations like that. Even today, if I look back on my life, among the physical experiences of my life, I'm trying to separate the two. If I look back, the biggest experience for me has always been this. For 22 days, I walked from Gopal Swami Betta to Nagarhole, which is a thick forest belt in Karnataka, which is elephant country and tiger country. I walked alone. Friends were supposed to come with me, they always abandon you at the last moment. They make plans and they make plans and they make plans, and the last day, they'll have something. This happened to me too many times. So, on fourth day I ran out of food. I continued to trek, living off the forest, and by about seventh, eighth day, my shirt was gone, half of it. It's just in one of the bushes, it just tore, and I just walked. Some days it rained, elephants all over the place, tigers I did not visually see, but when I sat on trees near water holes, I knew they were swimming in the water, they were grunting and they were doing things. It was too dark and misty for me to see. So I walked 22 days alone by myself. No, not even a matchbox. My matchbox went away with rain, and no torch, nothing, just like that. just living off the forest. And you would think, oh, elephants must have been great close-up, wild elephants, tigers. I knew on one day when I was near the water hole, there were 4 of them. I can vaguely see them, but I can't see them. It's too misty. You would think that, but no. The biggest experience of being in the jungle is the insects. Once the light goes down, wham, it'll start. Oh my God, it's something else. You won't believe it. Western Ghats, if you just stay there completely away, no lights, nothing, if you just stay by yourself, the insect population, oof, and it'll be going on like this. At that given moment, chuck, it'll stop and somebody else will start off. Another kind of… really, every day exactly at that time, their watches are better than ours. And when I came out, this whole insect thing was the biggest experience. Not the tigers, not the bears, not the elephants, not the mountains, not the trees, it's the insects. And then I got interested in insects and I started reading and this thing, and that's when I saw, if insect population disappears tomorrow morning from the planet, this planet has only something like 15 to 20 years of life left. All life on this planet, including micro life, will disappear if there are no insects. The worms are even more important. If worms go away, within 8 years' time, life on this planet will end. But if you and me all disappear, human beings disappear, the planet will do great. So, they moved into a much thicker range. Once they moved into a much thicker range, once the little comfort of people coming every day and bringing this and that, they're bringing gifts, they're doing things, some support was there, once that went away, Draupadi went into a depression. She went into a period of depression, and when she goes into depression, you better not be around because she will make sure everybody is in a deeper pit than herself. And she gave hell to Yudhishthira. She taunted him, she abused him, she really harassed him in every possible way. And whatever she does, Bhima will reverberate with the same thing, and he also added. She kind of, in many ways, continuously along the way, she had Bhima around her little finger. Whenever she wanted something done, and she knows Yudhishthira won't do it, and the other brothers won't do it without his permission. The other brothers are made in such a way that unless Yudhishthira says so, they won't take a single step in anything. That's their vow. But Bhima is so fond of her that he will discard the instructions and do something for her always. Many times, this put all the 5 or 6 into great risk, but whenever it was needed, she acted and it worked out in the end. That's different. So Bhima and the Draupadi started working on Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira just kept quiet. There were not too many pots and pans for her to throw. Life went on. They were trying to make Yudhishthira despondent. They wanted him to get somehow angry and gather an army and ride on Hastinapur. Yudhishthira said, no matter what, if this is the way you feel, even if it comes to that you will leave me and go, I will not break my word. I said I will go for 12 years and I go for 12 years, that's all. So that kind of settled it, and she worked herself out of depression. And many incidents happened in these 12 years. One of the most important thing was, after about 6 years of living in the forest, Arjuna decided that he will go out and equip himself for the coming war. because they had no illusions, except Yudhishthira, who still had trust in the Kauravas. They had no illusions that it'll anyway come to war. They know when they get back, Duryodhana will not keep his word, Duryodhana will not give back what he's supposed to give back to them. So Arjuna said, I want to go and do sadhana to acquire astras. Astras means empowered weaponry or empowered arrows, more like that, more like arrows, empowered with certain occult powers that against which there will be very little opposition. So he went acquiring astras. He worshipped Varuna and got Varunastra. And various other gods and sages he met and got blessings and astras like this. He went about gathering from place to place. But his aim was to get Pashupatastra from Shiva himself. So he went into Himalayas and prayed for Shiva. Trying to please Shiva, he sat in meditation. One day, after many days of sitting, he was very hungry and he heard the grunt of a wild boar. He opened his eyes and he saw a boar. So he picked up his bow and arrow and effortlessly shot the boar. And then he got up and went close to the boar. To his amazement, he saw there were two arrows. Who shot the other arrow? Then a tribal man came along with his tribal wife and he said, "Who are you? Sitting here like a sage but carrying a bow and arrow? This doesn't make sense. Anyway, I shot this boar first. Look at this is my arrow. It is my arrow which has gone into the heart of the boar, this is mine." Arjuna said, "How dare you even…" Arjuna has this problem that he is high-born, he is a Kshatriya and he believes he is the greatest archer. This vanity was a big problem. This was one big problem within himself always, that always he thinks he's better than everybody else. In case he sees somebody better than him, you saw what happened to Ekalavya. So, this is his worst streak in him. Everything else is absolutely noble in this man, but this is his worst streak. Nobody should be better than him. He's competitive. If somebody is better than him, he will somehow want to get better, even if it has to be removal of a thumb for somebody else or even a head. Now he got into a kind of a altercation with this man and they said, "Let's duel." He tried to duel with him, got nowhere. Then they decided to wrestle. They wrestled and the tribal man was more than a match for him and got him down. Then not knowing what to do, whatever he got hold of, he tried to throw that at him. In that effort, he plucked a flowering plant and threw it at him. It went and hit the tribal person and he kind of receded. Then he knew if he comes back again, he has nothing to defend himself. Then he was worshipping a linga and doing his sadhana. He bowed down to the linga and said, "Give me strength, Mahadeva, after all I'm sitting here in anticipation of you. And who is this wild man from the forest comes and he is putting me to shame?" And he put a flower on the linga and turned back, and he saw that flower was on top of the tribal's head. Then he knew who it is and he fell down at his feet, and Shiva came back in his form, pleased with him, and gave him the Pashupatastra. This Pashupatastra is the most powerful weapon of the day. With this, he knew he could win the war. And at that same time, Indra, his father, came. Here there is some fantastic description of a spacecraft which is unbelievable. They're describing it just like as we have seen in the Hollywood movies, and the description is 5,000 years old. Then Indra says, "Come in my craft," and takes Arjuna in his craft and takes him to his place, which is Amaravati. And he spends time there. This whole period, from the time he left his brothers and this sadhana that he did, he got astras from Varuna, Yama, Shiva, and now he's with his father. He was very, very happy for the first time to spend a little time with his father. And his father was very proud of who he is, and they spent time together, they fought battles together, and after a certain amount of time, he was to return. There was an apsara in Indra's kingdom, her name is Urvashi. They are not human, they are known as devas. An apsara is the female version of the deva there. And she's generally described in the Indian literature as the most beautiful feminine thing anywhere in creation. So, there is a history. We were talking about Urvashi way back. When Pururava was the emperor, you know that woman who had goats as pet and she put a condition on the emperor. So that is Urvashi, who came down with a certain purpose and was the wife of King Pururava, who in the lineage, in a way, is a forefather of Arjuna. And Urvashi saw Arjuna and she desired him and she came to him as a woman. Arjuna bowed down to her and he said, "As beautiful as you are, I see you as my mother because you are Pururava's wife. So, I cannot see you as a woman, I see you as my mother." She got insulted by this. She said, "These morals that you're talking about is for the humans. I am not a human being, so it doesn't matter." But he says, "I am human, so it matters to me, and I bow down to you as a mother." She got insulted by this and she cursed him, "May you become a eunuch, because I have come to you as a woman, as a man, you have refused me, so you become a eunuch." So, Arjuna was heartbroken. The masho man, cursed to be a eunuch. Then he went to Indra and pleaded. By then, he stayed there. For the period that he stayed there, Indra asked him to learn dance and music because Gandharvas were the best dancers and musicians. So he got himself a teacher called Chitrasena who taught him dance and music. And initially he thought, "I am a warrior, why should I learn dance and music?" Indra told him, "Someday it'll be useful for you. There's nothing wrong in learning dance and music, and you will be a better warrior with a song in your heart and little dance in your feet." So Arjuna became an accomplished dancer and singer in the meantime, and he was completely distressed when he went to Indra. Indra pleaded with Urvashi and she reduced the curse to 1 year. Okay, for 1 year, you be a eunuch. Now, the 12-year period was coming to a close and Arjuna is yet to come back. By now, the four brothers were little distressed. They have no news of him for over 5 years now. So they came in search of him, the whole family, up to Himalayas and stayed in a hermitage in Himalayas, waiting for Arjuna or to hear some news about him. Then certain sages who came back from Indra's Amaravati, this sage who was known as Lomasa, who came back, and this place is what is now called as Badrinath. In this place, they waited and Lomasa came and said Arjuna will be coming back shortly and his purpose of going there has been fulfilled and he will be coming back. So in anticipation, they were here and one day Draupadi and Bhima took a walk. And as they walked in the forest was so beautiful. Those of you who have been to Badrinath, you would find that drive from Govindghat to Badrinath is one of the most incredible drives on the planet. Of all the places that you can drive in, it is one of the most incredible drives that you can have. And in that region, they took a walk and Draupadi saw a flower which is called a Saugandhika. These days, this flower is being referred to as Brahma Kamalam. Many of you, when you went on the Himalayan trek, you might have seen this. When she saw this, she was so excited, as she had never seen a flower like this. She went about plucking a few and she saw that it was getting late in the evening and there were more flowers further, but she could not go and they returned. Next day, Bhima went out to get flowers for her and in his enthusiasm, he went deep into the forest. And in the forest, there is a whole situation of the Yakshas, the king of Yaksha, the Kubera. Why I'm saying all these things is because all these people will play small roles later on. But leaving that aside, one important incident happened. These 12 years, going to the forest is always a symbolism in this country. There is a metaphor attached to this. Going to the forest means it's always seen as a place of learning. What you cannot learn in a city, what you cannot learn in a university, you learn in a forest. So, whether it's Ramayana or Mahabharata or wherever, always going to the forest is an enduring theme because without going to the forest, you don't really learn the ways of life. So, walking in the forest, Bhima saw a monkey, an old monkey, a ripe old monkey sitting who had an extremely long tail and it was in his way. And Bhima is a proud man. If he comes, everybody has to make way. And in these 12 years, after this incident, whatever the shame that has happened to them, he's become an angry man also. Earlier he was a very bubbly, happy man, but now he is also an angry man. A proud man and an angry man together is a stupid man. Yes, dangerous for others and dangerous for himself. So he came and he saw this monkey's tail and he kind of felt insulted. Why is this monkey putting its tail in his way? He said, "Hey monkey, take the tail away." Because in India, people don't cross others' limbs. You know, if somebody is sitting or lying down, you never cross their limbs. It is inauspicious. It is not only inauspicious, scientifically if you look at it, it's an incorrect thing to do for many reasons. We won't go into that now. So, you will see people who are a little traditional, they'll never cross the limb of another person. If they're sitting, standing, always they'll go around. Lot of you are doing it by habit because your mothers and fathers have done it. Do you see that? You may not know why, but you don't cross. People who've grown up in India generally do not cross anybody's limbs. So he said, "Why this tail? Pull it, I want to go." The monkey said, "I'm so old, I don't have the strength to lift my tail. Why don't you do it for me?" Then he said, "Okay." And he put his hand down and tried to lift, it didn't come. He put his both hands down and really did, it wouldn't move. Then he couldn't believe it. This man is proud of his strength. He thinks he is the strongest man on the planet, empowered with the Naga elixir and everything. He's always built his muscle, built his muscle, built his muscle. Now when he can't lift the tail of an old monkey, this is an insult he can't take. He really tried very hard. He could not lift this. Then he went down on his knees and said, "Who are you? If I can't lift this tail, you are not just a monkey, who are you?" Then the monkey revealed that it was Hanuman from the Ramayana time. Ramayana is actually a part of Mahabharata. It is only much later Valmiki separated that story as a completely separate epic by itself. Otherwise, Ramayana was a part of Mahabharata. It was one long epic. Valmiki separated and made a separate event for Rama separately. Otherwise, he would be lost in the intrigue of Krishna, the simplicity of Rama. Then Hanuman told him, "How much ever strength you have, if you don't have humility and devotion, you will fall. You get this first." So these two lessons, both for Arjuna and for Bhima, is kind of set up for them, because this is what they lacked. Everything else they are good, but they are little proud of who they are. They think nobody can beat them and they think they can do anything. Krishna is constantly reminding them. Even when it comes to the battlefield, ultimately the reminder is just this: it doesn't matter who you are. People who are standing on the other side are not idiots. They are also capable. Do not be in pride, you will kill yourself. He repeatedly tells Arjuna, it is not the enemy's arrows which will kill you, it is your pride that will kill you one day. If you don't shed that, you will die an unfortunate death. So this thing, humiliation with Shiva and humiliation with Hanuman are set up in such a way that these two people get rid of this one flaw in them so that they become perfect for the action that is being planned for them. On a certain day, when the Pandavas were in the forest and they were out hunting, they were a little thirsty and tired. At that time, a Brahmana came running to them and said that for his worship, he had kept some sacred grass and he had hung it for drying. And a male deer, a buck, passed that way and this whole thing got caught in its antlers and it ran away into the forest. He requested the Pandavas, pleadingly, he said, "Please, somehow get these sacred objects for me, because it's time for my worship, I don't want to miss this worship. Somehow, please do this. You are supposed to be brave Kshatriyas, you must help me."
Come brothers, let's help this Rishi. Bhima, Nakula, go in that direction. Arjuna, Sahadeva, head in this direction.
Brahaspati! The deer is disappearing!
Disappearing.
It seems like an illusion.
Illusion.
An illusion. Keep looking. I'll join you shortly. Rishi, wait here. We'll be back with the deer. Bhima!
Nakula! Arjuna!
Sahadeva!
Arjuna!
Bhima!
Anna, it all appears strange. Where's the Rishi Muni? Where's the deer?
Yes, it's mysterious.
Yes, Anna. We're exhausted. We've looked for the deer everywhere. My throat is parched.
If only we had some water.
Nakula, go look for some water.
As you say, Anna.
Don't drink from this water before you answer my questions. Not before answering my questions.
It's all an illusion. Let me quench my thirst. Ah!
Where is Nakula? It's been a while, he's gone.
Sahadeva, go look for Nakula immediately.
All right, Bratashri. Nakula! 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 Ah, water.
Wait. Do not drink from this water before answering my questions. Not before answering my questions.
Let me quench my thirst first. Then I shall answer your questions. Ah! Anna!
Even Sahadeva has not returned. I sense that our brothers are in danger. Bhima, Arjuna, go look for them. Take your Gandiva and mace.
Nakula!
Sahadeva!
Nakula!
Sahadeva!
Arjuna! Water!
Wait. Do not drink from this water before answering my questions.
Who are you? Show yourself!
Leave it, Arjuna. Let's drink the water.
None of them are back. There is surely danger. Let me go look. Bhima! Arjuna! Nakula! Sahadeva! Bhima! No! No! Sahadeva! Arjuna! Arjuna! Nakula! No! Nakula! Water! Are you the culprit? Are you the one who took my brother's lives? Take mine too!
Stop. Do not drink the water before answering my questions.
Who are you? Where are you? Show yourself! Who are you? Are you Rudra? A Marat? Or a Vasu? You must be strong to put these powerful brothers of mine down. Your feat is remarkable. Who are you?
This pond belongs to me. Your brothers died because they drank from its waters before answering my questions. Do you wish to suffer the same fate?
न चाहं कर्णये यक्ष तव पूर्वपरिग्रहं यथा प्रज्ञं तु ते प्रश्नं प्रतिवाक्षयामि पृच्छमाम्.
I do not wish to take what does not belong to me. Ask me your questions, and I'll answer as best as I can.
What is more important than the earth itself?
One's mother,
What is higher than heaven?
one's father,
What is swifter than the wind?
the mind,
More numerous than the blades of grass?
the thoughts in the mind,
What is the highest sanctuary of dharma?
liberality,
What is the highest sanctuary of fame?
a gift,
of heaven.
the truth,
What is the most praiseworthy thing of all?
skill,
The most valuable possession,
knowledge,
the greatest treasure,
health,
the greatest happiness.
contentment,
What is the highest dharma?
to injure none of the living,
What must be controlled?
the mind,
What renounced to make a man agreeable?
pride,
What renounced to make a man wealthy?
desire,
And what can be renounced without regret?
anger,
And what may be relinquished to gain happiness?
greed.
What makes the way?
The good make the way, indeed, they are the way.
Who is the ascetic?
He who remains faithful,
What is true restraint?
that of the mind.
And what is true forgiveness?
He who endures enmity truly forgives.
What is real knowledge?
The knowledge of God,
What is tranquility?
when the heart is still,
What is mercy?
when one desires the happiness of all creatures,
What is simplicity?
when the heart is tranquil,
What is the invincible enemy?
anger,
What disease has no cure?
covetousness.
What is the honest man?
He who desires the happiness of all the living,
And the dishonest one?
the one who has no mercy,
What is ignorance?
not knowing one's dharma.
What is pride?
When a man thinks that he is the one who is the doer of life,
What is grief?
only ignorance,
How does a man become patient?
by subduing his senses,
Which is the true ablution?
when the heart is washed clean,
What is charity?
protecting all creatures,
What is wickedness?
speaking ill of others,
How is a man agreeable?
when he speaks agreeably,
How does he get what he wants?
when he acts with discernment,
And how does he find bliss in the next world?
by being virtuous in this one.
Who is the real man?
Word of one's good deeds reach heaven and are spread from there across the earth. As long as that word lasts, one is called a man.
Who is he, Yudhishthira, who has every kind of wealth?
Only he to whom joy and sorrow, fortune and misfortune, past and future are all the same.
Yudhishthira, you are the wisest man in the world and the most righteous one too. I grant you a boon. Ask me for the life of any one of your brothers.
Give me Nakula.
I am surprised. I know Bhima is dearest to you among all your brothers. You depend on Arjuna to win the war that's coming. Yet you choose Nakula's life over others. Why?
Yaksha, I have two mothers, Kunti and Madhuri. I, the son of Kunti, am alive. Surely, a son of Madhuri should also live.
Ah, you are a great soul indeed, Yudhishthira. I will never look upon another like you in all time. I grant you not just Nakula's life, but the lives of all your brothers. when the brothers went one after another, every one of them fell unconscious, assumed dead. And the Yaksha was Dharma, who is Yudhishthira's father. And the significant thing that we need to notice was when the Yaksha asked, "What is the most amazing thing?" Yudhishthira said, "The most amazing thing is, though humans are mortal, everybody goes about their life as if they're going to be here forever." Everybody's going to die, but somehow it's so amazing that everybody walks around as if death doesn't exist for them. That's the most amazing thing, isn't it? So, the significant aspect of this encounter with Yaksha is when Yudhishthira fell into the temptation of putting his brothers on the stake when they were playing the game of dice, he put Nakula and Sahadeva first, who are his stepbrothers. Somewhere in his mind, he was ready to lose them, not his own brothers. Living in the forest, that's the difference it made for him. That here, when it came to saving their lives, he chose Nakula. He said, "One of Kunti's sons, it is me, I'm here. One of Madri's sons also should live." So that wisdom blossomed in him, living in the forest. That is the main thing this story, this incident is trying to convey. How each one of them, they transformed themselves by living in the forest. So forest or these 12 years of forest is not a curse. It made them into much better human beings to later on become much better kings. Because this is all Krishna's game plan, the essential message is, this is also part of Mahabharata, but now it's been separated because the story was too long. There is a story of Ashtavakra. So Ashtavakra's father was a scholar in the king's court, and one day he was reading and practicing the scripture as to how to interpret it, and his wife was pregnant. And as he made interpretations, somebody said, "That's not it, no, you're wrong." He looked around, "Who is that?" Nobody. Again he said something about the scripture. Once again a voice said, "No, you're wrong." Then he asked, "Who is it?" Then the wife said, "It is my son in my womb who is speaking, listen." Then how dare you, not yet born, you're telling me I'm wrong already. You can say that when you become 18. Not yet born, already saying I'm wrong, how dare you, said. So the child from inside said, "See, whatever you said, this is absolutely wrong, you haven't gotten the scriptures." A great scholar, an unborn child, telling him you haven't gotten the scriptures, so angered him. He cursed him, "May you be born with 8 forms of deformities." So, 8 types of deformities. He became a hunchback, he became twisted out in his body in such a way that he was hardly human in his appearance. But the child was born and he was a brilliant, enlightened being. And by the time he was 8, he found acceptance from the king. This was King Janaka's court. Janaka is the father of Sita, that is Rama's wife. her father, Janaka, had a great aspiration to become enlightened. So all the time, anywhere anybody knowledgeable means, he wants to listen them out. So he accumulated a huge number of scholars, but nobody could see him through. At the age of 8, Ashtavakra so impressed him that Janaka decided to become Ashtavakra's disciple. Ashtavakra told him, "This is not the place to teach you." He said, "Anything, please." Wearing king's robes and crown and everything in the glory of the palace, he said, "Teach me anything, I'm willing to do anything." Then Ashtavakra said, "The ambience is not right. You are a king here. With all these things, you will not understand what I have to say." And Ashtavakra withdrew into the forest and he said, "After a certain period of time, you come looking for me, we'll see." King Janaka, in great seeking, went after Ashtavakra, searching in the forest. And then, after much search, he found Ashtavakra sitting under a tree. Janaka was sitting on a horse. So, he wanted to get down and bow down to Ashtavakra. He took one leg off the stirrup and raised it in that position. Ashtavakra said, "Stop." So Janaka, one leg in this stirrup, another leg up there, he stopped right there. He said, "Just stop." He made them stay, he just stopped him right there. In that position, he got enlightened. This is the first Zen, 8,000, 9,000 years ago. This is the first act of Zen. So, just he caught him by surprise and broke whatever is stopping him from knowing that. So he just caught him in that uncomfortable position. In the comfort of being a king, he wouldn't have gotten. In the discomfort of that position, he got it. So, this story of Yaksha is essentially trying to get that message across, that in the comfort of the kingdom, in the comfort of the palace, what they would have missed, by going to the forest, they acquired that and they became much better men, each one of them facing these different situations. Yudhishthira with the Yaksha, Arjuna with Shiva, Bhima with Hanuman, all these incidents and many more like this which happened essentially made them come out with much more wisdom, balance, unprejudiced approach to life.
Sadhguru, I have read that after this incident where Yudhishthira answered these questions beautifully, that Draupadi changed her perspective on her husband, and that before this Arjuna was her favorite husband and somehow she saw Yudhishthira in a new light. Can you talk a little bit about that?
She definitely valued him a little more because he brought Arjuna back to life. But her bias in favor of Arjuna never really changed, maybe yielded a little more, because she essentially married Arjuna. The others came, 1 plus 2 kind. If you buy one, you get one free. Unfortunately, it happened that way. But essentially she married only Arjuna. And all along, when she discovered, or it is not that she discovered, though you know it, it gets rubbed into you in so many ways as life goes by, is that Arjuna, though he's a phenomenal human being by himself, without his brother's instructions, he won't take an extra breath. He's that obedient. That obedience always angered her. After this incident, it kind of lowered a few percentage points, because one thing is he brought them back to life, Another thing is, he exhibited a different dimension of intelligence which none of others had. It doesn't matter what may impress you in the beginning, ultimately, it is the intelligence which wins over in life, isn't it? Isn't it so? In initial phases, so many things may matter, but ultimately, how intelligently a situation evolves around you is what really matters for a human being, because that is the nature of the Creator. A flower is blossoming, it may be beautiful, but look at the intelligence of it. It knows when to blossom, what to do, how much to throw out, what not to do, everything. It never takes instructions from anybody, everything is known, isn't it? You can see the beauty, you can write poems on it, you can sing about it, you can dance around it, but the real thing is the intelligence behind it, isn't it? So, because that is the nature of the Creator, that is the nature of every creature too. Because of that, it doesn't matter on the surface what impresses you. Ultimately, it is the fundamental intelligence of the existence, the creation and the Creator which really grabs your attention in the end. If you start in the beginning itself, you would be better off in the end. Otherwise, you will spend life in distractions, not in fulfilling the dimension of who you are.
I just want to ask, is there any significance to duration of the exile? Because you also mentioned that Pandavas were exiled for 12 years and Ram was also exiled for 12 years.
I had a little… somebody took a picture of this poster and sent it to me long back. I had it with me for a very long time, and somewhere in all these travels it got lost. When the first 12 years of teaching and doing this, when I lived a gypsy life completely, I lost that thing. I had it with me for a long time. This poster was something that was stuck somewhere in California, I don't know where, most probably San Francisco. Somebody took a picture of that and sent it to me. The poster was saying, if you go to… the poster says enlightenment on the top. If you go to India, it will take 12 years. Here they got some kind of a shop and they're saying here, 30 minutes, $25. Because that was new at that time, wear headphones and wear some glasses, some psychedelic experiences given to you with sounds and visuals, and you're enlightened. And the enlightenment machines, now after so many years, some ashrams in India are using them. So, at one time what was being referred to as fast food is now being referred to as junk food. It took a while for people to realize what is fast is junk. Took some time. So it took some time for people to realize fast food means it gets you fast to the grave. 12 years is because that is the solar cycle. If anything has to happen in a man, significant, it takes 12 years. Particularly men, but this is true of women also, but it's little milder in the women to notice, it's on a minor scale. But in a man it's much more, that every 12 to 12.5 years, everybody's life goes through a certain cycle because the solar cycles are happening and it has that much influence in your physiology, in your mind, in your emotion, in your energy, everything, and your life situations itself. Every 12 to 12.5 years, everybody's life is going through a certain cycle and they don't notice it because It's 12 years' time, they're not aware enough to notice what's happening. With my life, it's 100% clear, I know when the 12-year is coming, we are just in the cusp of those 12 years now. And Mahabharata, just at the right time, this 12-year cycle for us. And because of this, all sadhana was structured around 12 years. Because if anything significant has to happen, you have to ride one cycle. That is when you arrive at a different place altogether. So 12-year cycles of sadhana, anywhere you go to your guru means 12 years. Go to the forest. It is only now people are trying to understand or understanding going to the forest is a punishment. Going to the forest is not a punishment. Going to the forest is a learning. So it's again 12 years. So little more than 12 years, just to ensure you didn't miss the cycle. So for this, it is 12 years plus one more year, 13 years, making sure you get the point.
I wonder how Shukni was made the minister.
How?
Shukni was made the minister when Bhishma should have known that I killed his brother's father and he will take the revenge.
So you need to understand, when you're in an administration of managing a kingdom, not just a kingdom, any large administration, not everything happens the way you want it, because you have to keep everybody together to move in a particular direction. If you try to enforce what you think is right all the time, people will put brakes on you will not go anywhere. You need to allow a certain amount of room. If somebody goes too off, you can fix it, but you have to allow a little bit of wobbling around. People do wobble. And above all, when the prince, who could be the king tomorrow, he wants his friend to be the minister, not necessarily appointed, he's his advisor, he's his personal advisor, he lives in his palace, nobody can stop that. Duryodhana wants him next to him, nobody can stop that. It is not just with Shakuni. Unfortunately, a man like Karna, who is essentially a very straightforward, sincere, honest being of great valor and many great qualities, but in many times he turns out, his advice to Duryodhana turns out meaner and nastier than Shakuni's advice. But his warrior nature takes over and corrects it here and there. But Shakuni is a personal advisor. He just chooses, Duryodhana just chooses him. Nobody can stop that. Many times, Bhishma has a grouse, particularly against Karna. He hates Karna right through, or at least he exhibits it that way, and in the end, he admits that was not the truth within himself, but in the interest of the nation, he expresses his constant displeasure about Karna and Shakuni. But he cannot fix everything. He's only a regent, he's not the king. If he was the king, he would have taken Shakuni's head. But he has no power to give any orders, he can only advise as a regent. He never had any power to order, but he could advise. Advice could be valued by people who respect him. People who do not respect him will not value the advice. It's as simple as that.
Because today our mission is to establish a higher level of consciousness. But in the Mahabharata it was to establish Dharma. I wanted to know why the difference. Thank you.
The mission that Krishna consciously takes on is, he wants to marry the spiritual process with the political system of the day. This is something probably most people wouldn't have heard of. The beautiful rendition of the dance today about Krishna. The moment you talk about Krishna, You talk about his playfulness, his love, his mischief, and beautiful things like this, romantic things like this. But that was only the first 16 years of his life. Not that after that he was not playful, not that he was not beautiful, loving, whatever, he was all those things. But he went at the purpose of his life with zeal and without a moment's break and rest. One thing that most people would not have heard of is Krishna established over 1,000 ashrams across the northern plains of India in every kingdom. 1,000 ashrams. We haven't done that much, just one and one more, okay? He's never known for this, unfortunately, because people think the spiritual teaching is just in the Gita. When he came to the battlefield, the song of wisdom that he spoke is not all spiritual. It is politico-spiritual, if there is such a term. He's talking more about Kshatriya dharma, about how, being a warrior, he cannot go back on the hopes that people have put in him. So, he established dharma in the way he could. And in many ways, his effort to marry the spiritual process with the political system did not work. Even today, the only way spiritual process and spirituality as a culture and as a possibility can touch every human being only if the political administrations of many nations turn spiritual, only then. Otherwise, spirituality will always remain a fringe. If the presidents and the prime ministers and the ministers and the members of the parliament and these kind of people all turn spiritual, can you imagine? But it's possible, because every 5 years we can replace them, you know. Every 5 years we can change the men, so it's possible. Making the king spiritual was a much bigger challenge than making the democratic administration spiritual, because who knows, one of you could get elected. Do I see a president? Because to make the king spiritual was a much more difficult thing, because if Duryodhana is ruling for the next 40 years or 50 years, you give up your mission, do you understand? It doesn't matter who is ruling today, you can still continue your mission because 2014 in India, everything could change. Wherever, whichever country, I'm just saying, for example. At the next election, you could have a sage sitting there, the possibility is there. Only thing is, you have to create enough sages in the world that they may get elected. A sage who is willing enough to get elected. Sage who has necessary guile to get elected. Not a sage who will sit in a mountain cave. A sage who can remain a sage even in a marketplace. That kind of a sage. And he can get elected. So, we cannot give up the mission.
You had mentioned that Karna is a warrior par excellence.
That's what Vyasa says, I didn't see him.
And he had the ability to even defeat Arjuna and also the ability to kill Krishna.
That's what Krishna said.
Yes.
No, because I am being accused of these things,
But nowhere in the whole epic does he win any battle. Either is it with the Gandharvas who tie him up, or with when he fights for the Virat kingdom, Arjuna defeats him. And nowhere in the epic does he have any battle worthwhile saying that he won it. Why is it so? Is it because he is the wrong person at the wrong time? Or because he sided with Duryodhana and nowhere did he find luck favoring him?
He's neither grace with him nor luck with him. Right from his birth, luck is one thing which never was with him. And he did not choose grace. He chose arrogance as his friend. Arrogance reached out to him. And because of his own terrible longing to be a somebody before life matures for him, he made wrong alliances out of which he could not step out. Because people are in too much of hurry. It's like you're a teenager, you saw somebody in your high school, right there you thought this is the best choice and you got married when you were 18. Most probably you'll regret after a few years because you're too much of a rush. You're not allowing life to… Many of the choices you made at 16, 17, 18, fortunately for most of you those things have fallen off. If they stayed with you, you would deeply regret today. Yes or no? So, Karna is like this. Somebody offered him a hand, because he's so desperate, he took it, and after that, there is no turning back. He did not choose to have grace as his company. He chose to have arrogance as his company. For this, all his talent went waste. In your life, this is the truth always. Whatever you are, whatever capability you are, will be crippled in your life, will never find fruit if arrogance is the company of competence. If grace is the company of competence, this will explode into a different dimension. This will become much larger than who you are. Who you are will become way larger than who you actually are. You yourself will wonder, why am I so big? That's how life should be. That means you're living well. You know, this happened to me many times. Initially, a couple of times I was really fooled by this. I'm wandering in the forest alone by myself, Karnataka, not Tamil Nadu, largely. So generally almost 4 months of the year, it's misty. There's mist in the air, in the night air, early morning air. Then I'm walking in the forest, suddenly I see a huge fire, like a forest fire burning far away. So I want to see this. I go running, running. I want to go there before it gets off. I want to see forest fire close up. Such a great spectacle is happening, I don't want to miss it. Then I run 3, 4, 5 kilometers, go there and see in front of a little hut, 2 men are sitting with one little fire. And these millions of particles of mist multiplies it like a mountain of fire. And I run there, woof. Oh my God, such a small fire, it is like all over, the whole sky is lit up. Your life should become like this. If the mist of grace falls upon you, this is how it will become. You're a little fire, but you will rage like a big fire. But you must never forget that you're a little fire. भारतं महाभारतं धर्म अधर्म संघर्षणम् पक्षि प्राणि मानव च देव धर्म अधर्म पाञ्चालिका ज्ञान प्रभासित दिव्य जीवम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् भारतम्
भारतं महाभारतं धर्म अधर्म संघर्षणम् पक्षि प्राणि मानव च देव धर्म अधर्म पाञ्चालिका ज्ञान प्रभासित दिव्य जीवम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् भारतम् भारतं महाभारतं धर्म अधर्म संघर्षणम् पक्षि प्राणि मानव च देव धर्म अधर्म पाञ्चालिका ज्ञान प्रभासित दिव्य जीवम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् भारतम्
Now that the 12 years are over, it is time for the 13th year, which they are supposed to spend incognito. That means they must live somewhere in a civilized place, but they should not be discovered. It's very easy to be caught because 5 men with 1 wife, regal-looking men, a phenomenally beautiful woman, you can't hide. You just can't hide such people. Wherever they sit, they will stick out. So this is the most challenging part. In this 1 year, if they are discovered, they have to go for another 12-year cycle. The priest Daumya and sage Lomasa, who was with them, who came from Indra's Amravati, together they planned out a strategy for them, how they should spend this last year without being discovered. As the 13th year is coming, Duryodhana sent his spies across to every country to make sure the moment they arrive, they're discovered and back into the forest for another 12 years. He's quite confident, in 1 year's time his spies will find them because it is not easy to hide such people and they cannot remain in the forest, they have to be in the town. And the towns are not too many. 24 cities with a few thousand population, 5 men with an exquisitely beautiful wife and men who will stand out anywhere, you can't hide them. So Duryodhana is very comfortable, we'll get them, no problem. That is the rider, that is the trickier this is. 12 years, okay, forest you live somehow, maybe you even enjoyed it, but this year we will anyway find you and send you back for 12 more years. So the spies spread out everywhere, into every kingdom. waiting for these people to come in. So these 5 people, on the advice of the sages, they decided to go to King Virata's place, the land of Matsya. Virata was the king, so they came near the city and they disguised themselves in different ways. Yudhishthira disguised himself as a Brahmana. Bhima disguised himself as a cook. Arjuna disguised himself as an eunuch. He did not have to do much because he had become one. His body changed. The masculine man suddenly transformed. The curse of Urvashi came in handy and it was easy for him to dress up like a woman. Nakula and Sahadeva, Nakula disguised himself as one who cares for the horses, Sahadeva as a cowherd, and Draupadi was the problem. Because it's difficult to disguise her, how to de-glamour her and take her into the town and remain undiscovered. So she dressed herself like a maid. But still, her royal bearing and her beauty could not be hidden, so she was the fear for everybody that she will be discovered, and she is quick on temper. If she gets angry, people will know it's Draupadi, because there is a certain flavor to her which is not common. So outside the town, they sat down and they discussed the plan, how they will go separately one after another with a few days break here and there. So they decided to take different names. Yudhishthira called himself Kanka, Bhima called himself Bhalava, Arjuna became Brahanala, Nakula became Dhamagranthi, Sahadeva became Tantripala, and Draupadi became Sairandri. With this, they all moved into the court step by step. First Yudhishthira went, approached King Virata and offered his services to him. By now, one thing had happened to him. Yudhishthira's biggest dream is to play dice well one day. This is like bad golfers going on dreaming, one day they want to hit the ball straight. So he wants to play dice well, and when he was in the forest, he met a sage by the name Bruhadbhava, who taught him a way and gave him a secret mantra with which he could get what he want on the dice. And now armed with this, he could win anybody. Probably, I hope not, but when I look at the man, probably someday he has a dream of winning against Shakuni. But now he went to Virata's kingdom because dice game was such it was a passion in those days. There is really not much other entertainment except fighting. So the only other game is sit down and play dice. So King Virata saw the skill with which Yudhishthira could play dice, and this was the best disguise because the word has spread everywhere how horrible a dice player Yudhishthira is. So Yudhishthira settled into the royal court. Virata so appreciated his intelligence and wisdom that he became like an advisor to the king. The king valued him very much and he found a position next to the king. Bhima found his way into the king's kitchen and he was a great cook, so he became popular with the foodies in the palace. Arjuna came and showed his skill as a dancer and a singer, which he picked up in Amaravati. With Chitrasena as the teacher, he was a magical dancer and an exquisite singer. Because of this, he found way into the harem where Virata's daughter, Uttari, took him as the dance teacher. So he found a comfortable place. And the only problem was he was among hundreds of women, because after the usual checkup, they found that he's really a eunuch. So they had no problem and they housed him in the harem. So he was among hundreds of women. He has the body of a eunuch but the mind of a man. So it took some time for him to settle down with the woman. So he settled down in the women's quarter. Nakula found his way into the king's stables. Sahadeva found his way into the king's herds, where herds were managed. Nakula could… It is said Nakula was magical with the horses, that he could speak to them and they spoke back to him, and they had such a rapport. Suddenly, the king's stables rose to a different level altogether, and it was immediately noticed by the king, the way the horses were bred and the way they were taken care of and the way they performed, everything changed because of his relationship, because he's an Ashwin, he's the son of a Ashwin. And Sahadeva did miraculous things with the cows, and the herds grew, and he went and collected thousands of heads of wild cattle and domesticated them, and Virata's wealth grew in the form of cattle. And so all the five found their places, but it was an explicit rule that they never contact each other. In the meantime, when they came into the city, they took their weapons. These are famed weapons. Arjuna's Gandiva is like a renowned weapon. So all the weapons they bundled up in a kind of an old carpet and tied it up and hung it on a tree to make it. And they took a dead body from the cremation ground and they tied it along with that and put it up there on the tree with a rotting dead body. This was one of the practices. Certain tribes had this practice. Even today, the Parsis still have this, that they put it on a rock. Certain tribes had this practice. When they're dead, they don't bury or cremate, but they hang them on the trees for the birds to eat. So people see that it's a dead body and nobody goes near that. So this was a kind of safety that their weapons don't get lost. They hang all the weapons in this disguise, they go, and the last one to go is Draupadi, and she will have trouble when she enters the city. People see this woman, she's so stunningly beautiful, and she's dressed in tatters to make her de-glamorized, and she's walking on the street towards the palace. And men gather around her and stare at her. They ask, "Who are you?" She doesn't speak. A woman of this kind of beauty, walking alone without a man, she's suspicious. They ask, "Who are you? Who are you?" She doesn't speak. Then they start poking her, pinching her, and she will be in trouble. The queen who was traveling towards the palace in a palanquin saw her in distress and then took her home, and she was amazed that when she took her home and she looked at her, she looked like the queen, not her. And she asked, "Who are you?" She said, "I am a flower girl. I was doing hair and flowers for Draupadi, but after the Pandavas lost their kingdom, I have been not in employment, I am just wandering around. I have Gandharvas as my husbands, I have 5 Gandharvas as my husbands, and they are right now gone to another land. Till they come, I need some refuge. They will be back in a year's time." The queen saw the skill with which she could do the flowers, and she let her do the hair, and she did wonders with her hair. So she thought this was a great gift for her and kept her. These are simple things, but not everybody gets it. Just to braid hair in India, there are years and years of training. There are some people, these days it's largely lost. There are some people who can do hair in such a way, it's quite magical how it's done. See, some people, how they can do the flower, it's magical. If you have noticed, not a single mala is repeated the way it was in the previous session. Every one they'll make sure it's different. They're better than Draupadi, the people here. So she found place there and life continued. Many things happened, Yudhishthira became very popular with the king. They're just waiting for the 12 months to be over. In the 11th month, by now Duryodhana is desperate. He's desperately looking all over the place because the spies did not produce any results. He sent his brothers all over to look. Are they cheating on us? Are they remaining in the forest? So they searched the forest, they tried to find out all kinds of things, they asked astrologers where they are, they went to aghoris and mystics to find out where they are, but they were under the protection of… This whole thing was done on the advice of Krishna that they must go to Matsya, in the guidance of the sages of Daumya and Lomasa. So they were under that protection and Krishna has assured them, no matter what happens, you will not be discovered in that 1 year, don't fear this, just go and settle somewhere. So, 11th month when it happened, a certain incident happened where the queen's brother, Kichaka, one day set his eyes on Draupadi, the flower girl, and he went mad. He was on a conquest, he was on a battle, this thing, like a campaign. He came back. When warriors come back from campaigns, they're in a certain mode, okay? They can grab anything they want and they're used to that. Wherever they go, the kingdoms they conquer, grabbing the woman they want is a normal thing. And when he came to see his sister and he saw Draupadi, he instantly went crazy and he told his sister, I want this girl. So she tried to tell him, it seems she has 5 Gandharva husbands. He said, rubbish, if they come, I'll make sure that she has no husbands. It's as simple as that. And he's a battle-hardened man and he wanted her. Initially, when queen asked her to go and she said no, but later on, the queen insisted, take wine and go to Kichaka's quarters in the evening. Then she activated Bhima, she was not supposed to contact anybody. And she knows if she goes to Yudhishthira, he will talk dharma. And above all, if you do anything to Kichaka, the chances of being discovered, because in Matsya kingdom, only in name Virata was the king, because he had become old, he was almost 70 years of age. Kichaka was the power. He was the one who controlled the army, he was the real power. Virata was only a king by name, by stamp, but he was the real power. So if he dies or something happens, it'll be serious trouble. So she went and instigated Bhima. She said, I'm not going to that man and if I go there, I will kill myself. Either you do something about this or today I'm going to kill myself. So a secret rendezvous was arranged for Kichaka. Bhima came and killed him and after he killed him, he did his usual act because it's been a long time, 11 months since he killed anybody, just cooking. He was like itching for action. So after he killed him, he didn't leave him at that, he pushed each of his limbs into his body. He pushed his hands into his body, he puts his legs into his body with sheer brute force. After a few days, when the news spread, nobody knew who killed Kichaka, and when the queen said it must have been the Gandhara husbands of Draupadi, everybody became scared of Draupadi that she has some magical husbands who mysteriously came and killed someone like Kichaka. Because Kichaka was a strong man, nobody thought that he could be killed like this because no weapon was used. Somebody killed him with bare hands. People could not believe this. Is it possible that someone, a human being, can kill Kichaka with bare hands? When the news went to Duryodhana, he got alerted. And he asked, how was he killed? Then they said like this, each limb was pushed into the body. Then he said, it's Bhima. This is his modus operandi. Only Bhima does that. After killing, he pushed the limbs into the body because he's not satisfied killing. He has to do something more. So he said, it is Bhima, let's go. So the Kaurava army decided to ride. Not a full-fledged army, kind of a small battalion along with Duryodhana, Dushyasana, Karna, Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya, all of them, all the stalwarts rode. And they asked another friendly king to steal Virata's cows so that Virata goes chasing the thieves, cow thieves. So they stole the cows, the herds, and took it in one direction. Virata and the whole army went there chasing the thieves. Nobody was here, and the Kuru army came towards the city. When the only son, who was just about 17 years of age, Virata's son, Uttara, was at home, and when he realized the Kuru army came, he was with his sister and his friends, among all the women, and he said, I will go single-handedly and take the Kuru army, I will do this, I'll do that. This is a popular thing, most people in India would know that Uttara's bravery is only among the harem women. He knows nothing about fighting, he has never been in a battlefield, but he thinks he can beat the Kuru army and boasts about it. But the problem is there is no charioteer. Arjuna volunteers, Brihanala and Enuk volunteers. Uttara says, it's a shame for me to be charioted by a eunuch. No, find a man, a charioteer. There is nobody else. Then Yudhishthira, who is Kanka now, comes and says, you take Brihanala, you'll have no problems. He's a great charioteer, I know. So Arjuna as a charioteer, Uttara as the warrior went. They faced the Kuru army. He saw these people standing there. These are all battle-hardened warriors. When he saw them, he shook in his pants and his heart sank into his footwear, and he told Arjuna, let's turn back. Arjuna said, why turn back? We wanted to fight them, let's fight. No, wait, turn back. Immediately, I order you, let's go back. Arjuna said, no. Uttara got off the chariot and started running. Arjuna chased him, caught hold of him, put him in the chariot and said, wait, because they don't engage you in battle till the enemy is ready, they're waiting. And it's one big joke, big laughter on the other side. Arjuna said, wait, and he took him to the tree, took down his Gandiva. And then he told Uttara, I am Arjuna. And just then, the 12 years, the 1 year that was to happen, the 13th year closing, just then it closed according to certain calculations. According to Duryodhana's calculations, there are still a few days left. In India, there's a lunar calendar, there's a solar calendar, and there's a luni-solar calendar. No, luni does not mean that. A calendar which is a kind of an adjustment between lunar and solar movements. So, according to solar calendar, the time was up. Duryodhana's argument is, we are Chandravamshis, so we must go by lunar calendar. So Arjuna came out as a warrior and they couldn't recognize, who is this? Then this whole thing goes on always, that if you strum the Gandiva, the sound was such that it was unique and it struck terror in people's hearts. So Arjuna just struck the Gandivi and strummed with the Gandivi, and they realized it's Arjuna. Duryodhana was happy, here he is caught, they have to go back for 12 more years. Bhishma frowned, he said, "You are ignorant of these things." The solar calendar gives them the freedom that the 13th year is over. That is the reason why he is coming in front of us. Duryodhana said, "Nothing doing, we are Chandravamshis, we must follow lunar calendar." Bhishma said, "It doesn't matter what our Vamsha is, but when it comes to the battlefield, everybody is a Suryavamshi. We may be Chandravamshis by lineage, but on the battlefield, we belong to Surya, and that is the cycle by which we go, that is the dharma in this land. You can't change that now simply because it doesn't work to your advantage." Then they went into battle. Arjuna used a weapon which made them all faint. When they fainted, Arjuna came close up and told Uttara's sister had said, "You know, these are young kids, this is 17, that girl is 16, 15. She said, "Brother, when you win the war, you get the upper cloth of all the Kauravas for me, because I want to use it for my dolls." Her Barbie, she wants to dress up with Duryodhana's upper cloth. That's dangerous. So, when Uttara saw the magic of Arjuna's archery, and they went to battle, and Karna said, "You wait, I will take him and I'll finish him today. It doesn't matter whether it's 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, what does it matter, I'll finish him today." Arjuna gave him battle in such a way, he broke his bow and Karna had to turn back and escape from the fight. And then everybody went faint. So Uttara got down, went there, took the upper cloths of Duryodhana, Karna, Dushyasana, Ashwatthama, and left the elders, took this back and went away. When they came to their consciousness and they discovered their upper cloth is gone, it is a question of shame that somebody in the battlefield come and take this and go from you and you couldn't do anything. So they were completely shamed and they came back, but Duryodhana was still arguing, "This is the calendar, that is the calendar, my astrologer says this and that," but Bhishma said, according to the law, they have gone by the law, you cannot do this. By then Duryodhana, anyway he was always determined, but now he expressed, it doesn't matter, it is 13 years or 14 years, I am not going to give back anything to them. When Arjuna and Duryodhana, both of them go to Krishna just before the war to ask for support. Both of them will end up in Dwaraka to see Krishna. Duryodhana comes first. Krishna is pretending to be napping. Maybe he was not napping, but I think he's pretending. Arjuna came and Duryodhana came and sat at his feet, he looked. Krishna's feet were pointing at him. He thought, why should I sit at his feet? People say all kinds of funny things, that he is God, he is avatar, nonsense. I am a king. He's not even a king, he's a cowherd. All right, he's got a big army, I have come for help, but why should I sit at his feet? And he went and sat this side. Arjuna came after him, came down and sat at his feet, upon the floor. Duryodhana sat on a seat, just waiting like this. Krishna opened his eyes, lying down. When you open your eyes, you see this person first, not this person. So he said, "Oh Arjuna, you have come." Duryodhana did He's making his presence felt. Then Krishna looked, "Oh, both of you have come, what is the occasion? So wonderful. What is it?" Duryodhana said, "There's going to be a war and we need your support." Then he looked at Arjuna and asked, what have you come for? You need to understand this. Arjuna doesn't even speak unless he's asked to speak. Arjuna said, I have also come for the same purpose. Now both of you are dear to me. How do I do things? Let me do it like this. One of you can take my army. With the other, I will come, but I will not fight. I will not bear arms. I'll just come with you. I'll just hang around with you. But because I saw Arjuna first, I give him the first choice. Duryodhana protested, no, I came first, I was here before he came. Krishna said, that doesn't matter, but I saw him first. When he gives the choice to Arjuna, Arjuna says, there is no choice for me, we want you, it does not matter what. Life or death, victory or failure, we want it with you, that's all. Duryodhana knew the five brothers are stupid in many ways. But he did not think they are so stupid. Because if Krishna is fighting, it's one thing. But he's saying he's not going to fight, he's just going to hang around. And that one choice killed every one of them. That one wrong choice. When war becomes inevitable, when Krishna comes to sue for peace, Duryodhana and Karna try to take him captive. He comes as a messenger of peace. He says, let me give it a last chance. Everything has gone bad, battle is on, almost on. People have arrayed themselves on either side, everybody is ready to fight. But Krishna says, let's give peace one more chance. The Pandavas said, don't go, because it is not even safe to go there, they're just ready for anything. Krishna says, it doesn't matter, I'll give it one more try. Let's see if we can avoid this cruel war. And he comes here. He comes to Hastinapur and Duryodhana tries to welcome him as his guest. Krishna refuses his hospitality and stays in Vidura's house. Vidura has moved out of the palace and lives in his own small house, and he takes nothing from the king, and he lives on his own meager private income that he has, though he has access to everything in the palace, because he says, I don't want to eat from sin. And he grew his own organic vegetables at home and ate raw vegetables. He is the first salad-eating man. This is famous in this country as Vidura's Sag. Have you heard of this? Vidura's Sag, you've not heard of it? Vidura's Sag means raw vegetables. He just plucked vegetables from his garden and ate because he did not want to take a penny from the king or from Duryodhana, because he thought it is tainted, everything is tainted and he didn't want to eat out of that. So Krishna went and stayed in Vidura's house and ate Vidura's Sag. So Duryodhana said, what is this? I want you as my guest, come. Because Duryodhana is eager to win Krishna over by whichever means. Krishna said, I have come as a messenger for the Pandavas, and I cannot be your guest, and I will not be a guest in a house of sin. Before that, Krishna takes a vow. When he comes to know what happened to Draupadi, and Draupadi cries to him, tears of bitterness, and she says, this is what they did to me, you were not there. Though you saved me at the last moment, you were not there, and this is what they did to me. I cannot forget this. Till I see the blood of Dushyasana, I cannot forget this. So Krishna took a vow. Krishna said, the heavens may fall, the Himalaya may be leveled, the seas may become dry as dead men's bones, why the earth herself may burst asunder, but I will keep my oath to you. To avenge the crime against you, there will be a war to end all wars. Your eyes which shed drops of fire today, we'll see all 100 Kauravas dead upon the battlefield. Wipe your tears, because the tears are the prerogative of the 100 widows in Hastinapur. So he's taken this vow, but still he tries to sue for peace, and when he comes here, Duryodhana tries to welcome him as a guest, he refuses and goes and stays with Vidura. And Krishna comes to the court and tells them, see, this is the last chance. After these 12 years of exile happened, according to your will, what you did was utterly, absolutely unfair. Kshatriyas play a game of dice, but nobody wins a kingdom with dice. This is unbecoming. What you have done is unpardonable. If I was there that day you would have died. He told Duryodhana in his court, if I was there that day when you did what you did to Draupadi, when all these elders sat here and splitting the law, finding about the nuances of the law, I would have killed you right there. I was not there, so you have lived till now. But now I am telling you, give them their Indraprastha. You rule yours, they will rule theirs, as you agreed. Because what they said was, 12 years they should go to the forest, 1 year in incognito. In case they are found out, they must go for 12 more years. They successfully completed this 13 years, and when they come back, he says he won't give. And when the messenger of peace comes earlier to Krishna, Yudhishthira, as usual, he says, I don't want war. If they are not willing to give the whole kingdom, let them give me 5 villages just to keep their word, so that their dharma is not broken. They promised, let them not die with a lie. Just 5 villages, we will live in these 5 villages. When Duryodhana hears this, he says, I will not give even a point of a needle. I will not even give them that much of land which covers the point of a needle. Forget about 5 villages. No way I'm going to give. So Krishna said, you refuse to give them even a point of a needle. Yudhishthira is fool enough and good enough and gentle enough to ask for 5 villages when he can come and claim Hastinapur for himself. Not Indraprastha, he can claim Hastinapur, but he is asking for 5 villages, and you are saying you will not give a point of a needle. Now you tell me, will you give back their kingdom, or there's going to be a war in which for sure you will die? I will ensure that you will die. Then Duryodhana and Karna goes to the coveting, the obscenity of trying to capture Krishna at a sore point. And Dhritarashtra, for the first time, he's terrified. He knows if they touch Krishna, then things will go bad. Krishna just breathes out a breath in such a way that everybody in the court is absolutely terrified, and his form changes into a fierce kind of form where the energy of it is felt so powerfully that there is nothing that they can do, these 2 people with swords drawn. And Dhritarashtra, he's capable of coming to senses. He feels the energy and he says, oh Avatar, I have no eyes to see anything else, I have not seen anything else in this world. Just give me vision for a moment so that I can see you. So Krishna grants him vision, and Dhritarashtra sees Krishna in a fierce, immeasurable form, and then he says, please take away my vision. After having seen this, I don't want to see anything else. I just want to live with just this one vision. This is the only thing I have seen in my life, and that's enough. I don't want to see anything more. And Krishna leaves. War is for sure. When he is leaving, he kind of engineers that his path crosses Karna's path. He comes to Karna and he says, why are you doing this to yourself? This is not what you are. And let me tell you what is your parentage. Suddenly Karna breaks down. He always wanted to know who he is, where did he come from, who let him off in the river in that little box. Krishna said, you are the son of Kunti. Your father is Surya Deva. You are the son of Kunti. Karna breaks down. Suddenly, he realizes he's been actively trying to nurture hatred towards these 5 people, even though it was not naturally so. Because he has gratitude for Duryodhana, somewhere he believes he must hate these 5 people. Though there is no hatred in his heart, he works it up all the time and comes out with meaner than… If Shakuni says one mean thing, he will say the next mean thing. He won't stop there because he's working up his hatred always, trying to prove his loyalty, trying to be grateful forever for what Duryodhana has done to him, accepting him as a king, giving him a position and place in the palace. So Karna breaks down and says, who else knows this? Krishna says, Kunti knows this, and Bhishma knows this. Karna breaks down even more. If Bhishma knew this, why? Why is he so angry with me? Why does he dislike me so much? Krishna says he does not dislike you, but he knows your fate. He is trying to get you out of the way, but you are determined to be in the way. He is doing everything to somehow get you out of the way, because he knows if you are out of the way, Duryodhana will never have the courage to do what he is heading to do. But you are not going out of the way. Come with me. Come join your brothers. It is unbecoming of you to fight against your own brothers. Come and join them, war is inevitable. You join that side, most probably Duryodhana will back off. Karna goes down on his knees, unable to bear his emotion. But then bravely stands up and says, I cannot give up my friend, and goes back to Duryodhana. The war is inevitable, but a few last-ditch efforts are being made. Though there is no hope of peace, though there is no hope of avoiding the war, the emotions have to be gone through. This is a time, at a time like this, what individual human beings say or do is more true of them than at any other time in their lives. If you want to discover who is who, if you create an emergency situation, a crisis situation, that's when you know who is who. Otherwise, in comfortable situations, they could make you believe all kinds of things. But really at a moment of crisis, you know who is who can take how much, to what extent they'll go. Once the crisis begins, that's different. Whether they like it or they don't like it, the situation will suck them and take them. That will produce a different kind of people. The crisis manufactures people. Those whom you thought are no good will stand up like giants. Those who thought you're great will whimper away at the first moment. All kinds of things will happen. A crisis has its own products of humanity. But it's a pre-crisis situation. When crisis is inevitable, you actually, if you notice people, you will see who is who, what they're made of. So, the last-ditch negotiations, which has really no meaning as such, but still they're being made. Yudhishthira says, I have no wish to be the occasion for this war. If everything else fails, I will accept just 5 times to make peace. Let him give me Indraprastha, Vrikaprastha, Jayanta, Varanavata. These hold memories for us. The 5th time, why? Let it be even a village of his choice, I will take it. Duryodhana, hear me clearly, my lord is addressing his father. Hear me clearly, my lord, all of you, I will never return their kingdom to the Pandavas. Not all of it, not 5 towns, not 5 villages. Why? I will not give them land to cover the point of a needle. Draupadi, I want war. Krishna, I want war and nothing else but war. A bloody war to avenge what I suffered on that terrible day. And for 13 years after, I want every Kaurava killed. The elders who sat by, not lifting a finger to help me when I begged them to, I want to see them dead. I know Yudhishthira was always for peace, at whatever cost to himself and his family. But when I hear Bhima, Arjuna and Nakula talking of peace today, I can hardly stand it. I want neither peace nor friendship with the Kauravas. If you love me at all, Krishna, if you ever felt sorry for what happened to me, make sure there is war between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. I must see my enemies lying dead on the field as carrion of jackals, as carrion for jackals and vultures. That's her. Dhritarashtra sent Sanjaya for peace. This is the message he sends. Sanjaya says, my lord, you have not heard all of the message I bring. The king says to you, man's life is brief, Yudhishthira. Why let it end in shame? Why allow yourself to be remembered as the Kuru who spilt the blood of his own kinsman? Don't lead your life into this war. That will be the end of you, regardless of whether you win or lose. What does an earthly kingdom count for anyway, Yudhishthira? For a man of dharma like you, it would be better to live on the kindness of Vrishnis and Andhakas or Yadavas than fight this war against your own blood. The desire for material possessions is what steals a man's judgments from him. A man like you, seeker after truth, should burn every vestige of desire from his heart. The longing for wealth and power is a shackle on the spirit, an obstacle on the path to salvation. Few men can renounce it. You are one of the few, Yudhishthira, Prince of Dharma. My last word to you is, give up your anger, forget everything that happened and return to the forest. Spend the rest of your life in quest of nirvana and win undying fame and joy for yourself. Or else live with Krishna in Dwaraka, live off the arms of Yadavas. They will see to every need and… they'll see to your every need and comfort. You have walked the high road of dharma for so long, why leave it now for the alleyways of sin? I beg you, forget the bloodshed you're planning, live in peace. So, obviously such an effort towards peace is bound to fail. So inevitably, they hurtled themselves towards war. It was decided, they will fight the war on the field of Kurukshetra, where Parashuram, in the earlier generation, had slaughtered hundreds of Kshatriyas and made pools of blood. And when people pleaded that, why are you continuing to do this? He said, okay, I will grant them this, whoever dies on this field will attain to their liberation, but sparing their lives here is like destroying the world, because these Kshatriyas are they have become like worms infesting the planet. They're eating up the planet, splurging on it too much. So armies assembled. The Kauravas had 11 Ashaukanis, we can call in modern terminology maybe a battalion. And the Pandavas had 7. So 7, 11. In this war, there were 2 key people who did not take sides. One is Rukmini's brother, and Balarama, Krishna's brother. Because of the relationship, they kept out. Just before the war, Arjuna suddenly has an urge for peace. Between the 2 armies, he says, I don't want this. I cannot kill my grandfather, my guru, my brothers, my friends, and have a kingdom. I don't want, I'll go back to the forest. That is when the Gita happened. The 18 chapters of Gita were rendered, Vishwarupa Darshana was shown. Krishna went to the extent of saying, this is my will, you have to do it. After all the teaching, it still didn't work. It has to be enforced. So along the way, many times, whenever he faces Bhishma, particularly Bhishma, he kind of avoids going for the kill. And he avoids many other people that he likes on the other side. How to fight a battle, like if you are let's say you've not seen a battle, you've seen a cricket match at least. So if you like the batsman, you bowl a slow ball. How to play a game like this? You can't play a game like this, isn't it? So you start the war and this person you're willing to kill, this person slowly. You cannot fight a battle like this, you cannot do anything like this. So Krishna's fundamental teaching is not the war. He's saying, without involvement you can't do anything. The very beautiful thing about Gita is, he's not saying compassion is the greatest thing. He's not saying this is the greatest thing or that's the greatest thing. He is saying, hesitation is the worst of all crimes. You need to understand this. I want you to look back on your own lives and see, when you hesitate to do something, you decided to do something and then you hesitate. When you hesitate, what you're doing is, you're avoiding life. So Krishna is talking in that context, that when you hesitate, you miss life. Hesitation means you are neither here nor there. Krishna is saying, before you start such a big event, I don't know if you can call it an event, such a huge mega situation of a war, a major war, off and on you hesitate. You start something, there is no looking back. Either you sail through or you die, that's all there is. This is not just with war, with lots of situations in our life. You start something, halfway down, just because it's not comfortable for you, just because something is unpleasant for you, you think you can drop it and go. Every day I have this going on. So he's saying this is a very unusual thing to be said. It doesn't look like any spiritual teaching, but it's the greatest teaching. He's saying hesitation is the worst of all crimes. Because you see, when you hesitate, you're missing life. You're losing touch with life because you are not in life, you are lost in your mind. Your opinions, your ideas, your emotions have taken over and it does not allow you to function. On the spiritual path, it's a daily affair. Sadhguru all the way. Usir kuduturuva. You know what it means? Usir literally means breath, but what they're saying is, I'll give my life to you, Sadhguru. Then I say, don't give your life, keep it and keep it well. I will tell you how to use it. Don't give it away. Even if you give it, let it stay in your body. Don't throw it at me, I got enough life in me. Don't shoot your life bullet at me. Keep it in your body and we will tell you how to put it to truly wonderful use, how to make it worthwhile for the life that you are. So today, usir kudutuduve, tomorrow morning, Sadhguru, I don't like the food, Sadhguru, in the ashram, I can't. No, Sadhguru, I was really committed. You know what this person said? Oh, they even said something about you. Is there something that they have not said about me? Anything that a man can do and cannot do has been said. So Krishna is saying, see, you need to understand, people gave a title to Krishna, that is a deserter. He's called Ranchor. Ranchor means a deserter. Because when Jarasandha attacked Mathura and another king from the west, from Afghanistan, attacked from this side, he saw there is no way to fight these two at the same time. So he took his people and went to Dwaraka to save them. Because he thought there is no point, everybody is going to be killed. Let the city burn, let the people live somewhere else. So they went on, made out a great city somewhere else. Dwaraka became one of the richest and most prosperous cities of the day. For this, he got a title which he could never shake off. People among the Kshatriyas called him Ranchor. Ranchor means one who stole away from a battlefield, that means a coward, that means a deserter. All his life, this title stuck to him. He did not withdraw out of hesitation. He withdrew because he made a decision that if he stays there, all the people will die for nothing, his people. So he withdrew. So making a decision, a strategic decision in a war to do something is different. But you're willing to kill this man, you hesitate to kill this man when they're wearing the same uniform. It's the uniform that you kill, not the men, isn't it? In a war, you're not killing men. If you look into their lives, maybe this is such a wonderful guy, I don't want to kill. If you look at him, oh, you know, if I look at him, his family, suppose I know his wife, I know his children, if I look at the man, you can't kill him, isn't it? If you look at the man, you cannot kill him. You're looking at the uniform and you want less and less of that uniform, standing. That's all a war is about, isn't it? If you look at the man, you cannot kill, because there'll be so many wonderful things about this man, you can't kill all that. So Krishna is saying, you enter the battle, don't go on doing this nonsense. If you wanted to become a hermit, you should have become. Why did you get all these people to the battlefield? Now you will go to the forest, they will die. How is this? They came to fight for you, now you will become a hermit, they are going to die. This is not allowed. You go, either you kill or you die, one of these things you do. A key element in the Kurukshetra war is the southern mysticism, which played a phenomenal role, which generally has never been highlighted. The mystic dimensions could manifest in many ways. On the battlefield, it found its own expression of a very different kind. When Kurukshetra war was to happen and Kauravas and Pandavas went about campaigning for support, just every king across the nation joined the war, either this side or that side. But the Udupi king said, I will not join the war as a warrior, but I will cook for both the armies. So both the armies were served by the same team of people. So both the armies ate the same food. They ate together and then went and fought. So Udupi king took the cooking responsibility for the battle of 18 days. And even today, Udupi people probably own the maximum number of restaurants in the country. They are still cooking for the country. When the war is on, every day in the night, the Udupi king brings a few groundnuts. Groundnuts means, for those who come from outside the country, peanut. Here we call it groundnut because it grows in the ground here. When these nightly nuts come to Krishna, he eats some nuts and leaves some every day. And Udupi king was also cooking for both the armies. You started out cooking for over 1 million people, and every day the numbers are dwindling. And every day when he cooked a lunch or a dinner, the volume of food that he cooked was perfect, never excess. Then after 10th, 11th day, people started wondering, how does this guy know how much to cook? Because before the battle is over, he cooks and he's got the meals, exact number of meals that are necessary for that evening ready. This uncanny right number of meals supplied kind of put fear into people. How does he know? Then on the 16th day, somebody questioned him. How is it that you know how many meals to cook every day? He said, every day in the night, I supply nightly nuts to Krishna. He eats up some, leaves some. I count how many are there, and that many thousand meals I cook. You get me? Another warrior from the south arrived on the battlefield with only 3 arrows in his quiver. Only with 3 arrows he came to battle. And Krishna and others were there, pre-battle preparations are going on. He came and said, People asked him, how come you have only three arrows? He said, with one arrow I can kill all the Kauravas. With one arrow I can kill all the Pandavas. So, 3 is more than enough for me. When Krishna heard this boast, he said, why don't you show what kind of skills you have? And he showed him a banyan tree with thousands and thousands of leaves. He said, let me see with a single arrow how many leaves you can pierce. Barbaric used a single arrow with the necessary empowerment of occult. And with a single arrow, he pierced every leaf on the tree, and the arrow came and hovered around Krishna's feet, which was over a fallen leaf, waiting to pierce that. Krishna said, that's very impressive. And on whose side will you fight? Because nobody has seen him before, he's come from the south. He said, I will always fight on the losing side. Day by day I will see. If Kauravas are losing, I'll fight for them. If Pandavas are losing, I'll fight for them. Any time when I see one particular army is losing, I will fight for them. Now Krishna looked at this situation. So if this guy is on the other side, you should not win. That'll be the formula. Because if you win, if you start winning, this guy will join the… if he's on this side, he will go and join the other side. So, Krishna said, can I ask you for something which will you give it to me? I want you to remove the head of one warrior. Barbaric said, for you I will do it, tell me who it is. Krishna went into his camp, brought out a mirror and showed it to him. Barbaric knew he was done in. He asked one request, yes, but I have come all the way from the south to see this war. I want to see this war. Such a great war, a warrior like me, I don't want to miss it. I wanted to see the spectacle of this war. So Krishna said, that's okay, you remove your head, I will see that your head can see and speak. So he took his sword and removed his own head and held it by the hair and gave it to Krishna before he fell. So he gave the head to him and they placed the head in the battlefield in a vantage point where he could see everything. And it so happened that when the war began, any time he saw something cowardly, something funny, Barbaric would laugh so uproariously, he would unnerve lot of soldiers. And just his laughter would create such a disharmony. Then, after a couple of days of battle, Krishna said, let us give him a much better vantage point and move the head to the top of the hill. From there he can see and laugh. Too close up, he is unnerving our soldiers. So that head was kept on the hilltop, sat there, just the head, watching the war, laughing, commenting and doing things. And remind me later, when the war is over, we'll see what the head has to say about the war.
Why did Krishna dictate to Sadeva not to reveal his wisdom and impose the rule that he should answer a question with another question?
So why is he preventing wisdom from spreading? The wisdom of Sahadeva is not a spiritual wisdom, it is a worldly wisdom. If people feel strife they will seek the ultimate. If I put a gun to your head and anyway I'm going to kill you, do you want 10 kilograms of gold or mukti? What do you want? Mukti. Obvious choice, isn't it? So, he understands that if strife is created, everybody will make the right choice. But with worldly wisdom, if you create comfort, a sense of comfort which will not last very long, people will make wrong choices. Sahadeva gathered worldly wisdom from an ant's meat. Father's flesh, of course, but from ant's food. Ant is worldly wise. Ants are more worldly wise than you are. Rainy season is coming in India, you will see how they will store up more than you. No, I don't think they can beat you. Somewhere else it may be winter, here it may be rain. They are hoarding all the time, they're worldly wise. So you need to understand the metaphor of the ant carrying Pandu's flesh. It's ant's wisdom. Krishna does not want this ant's wisdom to spread in the world and everybody become hoarders and think their life is fulfilled because they built a house, they got married, they bore 25 children and they got gold on their bodies and this and that, they think their life is fulfilled. He does not want that to happen. So he does not want Sahadeva's wisdom to spread in the world. So he said, you will not spread this wisdom. Your wisdom is useful only if spiritual enlightenment has happened, then you learn how to handle the material. It'll be useful to create comfort in the world. But if comfort comes without realization, comfort will become, Karl Marx said the opium of the masses. It is the opium of the masses, comfort. Religion is a comfort, not an enlightening process. Somehow Marx got it right. When he said it's the opium of the masses, he was on the dot. This is what Krishna is saying. This kind of wisdom, God will take care of me, everything will be okay, God will walk with me, this will happen. This kind of wisdom, it is a wisdom, it is true in one way. This kind of wisdom will put people to sleep, it is a great tranquilizer. Krishna wants strife, because when strife is there, people will seek truth. So he does not want Sahadeva's wisdom. Even today in India, as I already mentioned, if you call somebody a Sahadeva, it is not a positive, it is not a compliment. It is an angled bob.